welcome to another video of this micro camper series. Today I'm going to be showing you how to fit a Seitz double glazed opening window. On the last video you saw me fitting the glass bonded windows. On this one we're going to be putting a Seitz opening window in this door here, simply because the glass windows that we've got for this particular model, they don't do an opening window, so I needed some ventilation on this side of it. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to run through the process of fitting them and how to fit them properly. Okay, so this is the door that we're going to be fitting the Seitz double glazed window in. The rear door, probably it's the wider one of the two, the other one is slightly thinner. One of the common mistakes that people tend to find with doing a Seitz double glazed windows, they think that the window will come to the outside of that aperture, whereas a bonded window will go to these lines here and completely fill that void where a glass window will go. A Seitz window doesn't work like that. You've got to measure from the inside. So for this one in particular, I've measured this one up, and it's 500 wide and 450 tall. That's as big as we can get on one of these doors. And as you can see from the edge there to this point here, there's quite a big gap, so you're not going to fill the entire void on the outside. So when measuring a Seitz window, you've got to measure from the inside. It's exactly the same if you was doing it on one of these windows, and it's the same thing if you was doing, say, a big Ducato or a Ford or a VW or anything like that. Whatever kind of van you're doing, you've got to measure your opening to the inside, not the outside on these vehicles for them windows. So I've done a quick measure, like I say, 500 by 450. I've ordered the window, got the window in. The best way to place this now is to actually make a plywood piece of the opening that you're going to cut out. So I'm going to cut a piece of quarter ply, 500 by 450, and then we'll offer that up and we'll get that square. Okay, so now we've got the cutout measurements marked onto the actual door. So that opening there now is 500 wide by 450 high. As you can see, it is rather close in some places. I'm going to have to cut the timber down a little bit more at the top part, but that's fine. You've got to remember to allow yourself enough distance as well for your timber. The timber we're going to be using on this is going to be 3/4 wide, so not on 19mm, whichever you're working in. So you've got to allow for the thickness of your timber on that as well. So that's the cutout, then you've got the thickness of the timber, and then your window overlaps on top of that as well. So there are a few things to keep in mind before you start cutting out. This one is going to be slightly trickier. Normally, the timber thickness that I put on these, you need a minimum of 25mm in depth. That's from the outside to the inside. That gives you enough space then to clamp and get a proper seal on these. Normally, for example, on a rear window or a sliding door on a bigger vehicle, I would do 25mm strips, top and bottom, and you can usually do them straight because the panels going side to side are relatively quite straight on them. It's when you get to the sides that you've got to curve in and marry up to the top and bottom rails, which are 25mm. However, on this one we've got a curve that way and we've got a curve down the side as well, so all four of these rails will be curved and go into a 25mm thickness. And what we're going to be doing, we're going to be keeping our 25mm thickness in the corners because it's going to go slightly wider in the middle of these points. So that's our key for that one, keeping the 25mm in the corners and then doing it that way. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to cut this out, I'm going to prime up the cut metal, and then we're going to take a look at fitting the timbers. Okay, so we've got this cut out now. I've gone round with the anti-rust paint all over the metal. We're going to have to leave this to dry for about an hour or so before we can start bonding timber on. Just one thing I wanted to point out actually, we look down, we're going to be fitting timber along here around the sides. You see these points here, they need to be filled with Sikaflex, and it needs to be set to go hard. The reason you've got to do this, obviously the timber is going to come over this behind, but them voids there, they need filling, because once the pressure comes on this from the window, when you screw through to clamp the window in, you'll find that you'll have a bit of a dimple, if you will, underneath, and it's same on the top one as well. So if you were to put Sikaflex in there and let that go hard, it stops that that metal twisting or warping in from the pressure of the clamp from the windows. That's just a little tip for anybody who's fitting one of these windows. So I'm going to let this go off for about an hour, and then we'll come back and we'll sort the timber out. Right, okay, so we've got our window cut out. The anti-rust paint has gone off, it's dried. We're good to go on with the timber with this now to make the frame. I'm using some 2B1, and like I said before, we've got a shape that way and we've got a shape that way, which makes it slightly more difficult. But so I need 25mm in each corner, and simply all I've done with this now, I've marked off 25mm on each corner. All I've got to do with this now, sit that down, making sure I'm on the 25mm marks, and then that will give me, there we go, 25mm in each corner, so I know I've got the right thickness then, and then it's just a simple case, just scribe underneath, and that's giving me the curve underneath, as you can see. What the best thing to do is, if you've got a bandsaw, use a bandsaw, it's far easier. If not, use the jigsaw, but try and keep to that line as best as you can. Keep that offcut, because what we're going to do, we're going to put the piece on the back, and then we're going to put the offcut on the other side, because it's following that shape, and then we're going to clamp it. What we don't want to do is create any reason for the metal to distort. Right, okay, so I've got the bottom and the top one cut. As you can see, I've got the middle brace out. I've got that cut out as well, so that fits nicely. The top one, however, needed a bit more, just because it was a bit of a tighter fit, this one, than the bottom one. But they both fit nice. They're nice. So what I'm going to do first off, use some Carbon 940 FC, similar to Sikaflex and things like that. I'm going to fill these points in first. Like I said before, you don't want that to give when that window is clamped in. So I'm going to set the time lapse up now. I'm going to fill them in. We're going to get these bottom rails on first, bottom and top rails on, and then we'll do the sides. Right, okay, so we've got the bottom and the top rail on. They were the more complicated pieces to fit, so they're on and clamped. We're going to repeat the same process again with these side pieces. We're a little bit easier. All the difference is we don't have to measure our 25mm at the top and bottom of it. We're going to use this as our guide and make them flush, and then scribe off the back. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to cut with a bandsaw, and then we're going to clamp using the offcut to make all the metal straight. So our timber rails now are dry. The Sikaflex has gone off, so that's brilliant. If you take a quick look at that, the metal is perfect. It's not distorted in any way, and that's exactly what you want. nothing worse than when you start clamping the window up and it starts bending the metal in. That's not what we want. So that's perfect. I'm happy with that. It's also equally as important to make sure that the rails on the inside are flat. Simply because the blinds and the fly screens that come on the inside of a Seitz window, they won't work if you've got a twist in it. So the inside has to be flat, whereas the outside has to follow the shape of the metal. While the camera's been off, while it's been drying, I've made an internal panel for this, made a pattern for that. So I'm going to set the camera up, we're going to get some insulation around there, we're going to get this panel on, and then we're going to put the window in. Right, okay, so we've got our window fitted. I've cleaned all the butty rub off. That's the stuff I was using to seal this on with. Cleaned it all off. That's all nice and straight now. I've still got the protective film on the outside. We'll take them off right at the end of the conversion. Just have a look on the inside. And there you have it. We've got the screw caps in to hide the screws, as you can see. Been testing them throughout the blinds just to make sure, and as you can see, there's no issues on that side at all. If when you fitted these and you do get issues with the blinds not working properly, it's just a case of slackening, ever so slightly slackening the screws off, because it'll be too tight and it'll be binding probably on the rails. So that's just a little thing to look out for. My first initial screw, the screw up, the first initial one, I go over them again afterwards. So I screw them all up, I check on the outside to make sure everything's pulled up nice on the window on the outside, and then I go around and just nip them up slightly again, because that butty rub will come out a little bit, and then the screws will ease ever so slightly, and it's just important that you do nip them up a second time round, even possibly a third time round. Just let that butty rub ooze out a little bit before cleaning off. But that is it. If you've got any questions, any comments or anything like that about the windows, put them in the comment section down below and I will get back to you as soon as possible. But many thanks for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you very much. Bye bye.